Hello everybody, this is Andrea Tonelli. Welcome to a new episode of Inside the Song. Today I will show you how I use a little quick and easy tip to modulate within a song, so going from one key to another. As you know, some songs start and end in the same key. Like you start maybe in C major and the whole song is a variation of that C major key. And some other songs start in a key and then evolve to one or more keys. But sometimes songs go to one key and then return home, so to speak. And this specific song is called City Lights and is the final track of my album Lights and Shadows. And this song started out as a very simple two-section song. So it meant I had a basic chord progression for the verse and then another very simple chord progression for the chorus. And the plan for me was to just repeat these sequences 3 times. So I would have verse and chorus for the melodies, and then a verse and a chorus section again for the solo, and then at the end another verse and chorus section, plus an extra chorus for just the final outro solo. But then as I was writing it, I thought that I didn't want to give up the simplicity of it, but at the same time I thought it would need something more for the middle section, something to elevate the solo to a different plane and then return, because it also made it possible for the audience and for the listener to know that these were very specific separate sections of a song. So I wanted to make sure that the verse and chorus were perceived as a verse and chorus, and then the solo was perceived as its own thing, and then I could return again to the verse and chorus. So I'm just going to show you really quick just the first time that I modulate up. So this is the end of the chorus of the first section going into the solo section, and maybe you'll notice a modulation and maybe you won't, and that's kind of the idea behind this technique that I'm going to show you today. So check it out. Alright, so before we even get to the modulation, let me give you a little trick that you can use to make your modulation sound a bit more subtle and not as in your face. You might have heard when you heard this that I use the melody to hide the modulation in a way. I'm playing a very subtle melody during the chorus, but then as soon as the solo hits, you know, the guitar goes from 0 to 100, and that alone will make your ear gravitate towards that. Right, so you can always use instrumentation. It doesn't have to be the melody. It can be anything. A drum fill, it can be a bass line or a change in intensity of the chords and rhythm. And that will kind of, you know, dilute the intensity of the modulation. All right, you don't always have to do it, and you don't always want to do it. Sometimes you want the modulation to be, you know, strong. But sometimes if you want to just bring it down a notch, this is a great trick. Now, about that modulation, here's the thing I'm doing. The first part of the song, so that means the verse and the chorus for the first section are basically all within the key of A. I'm going to write down here all the chords in A major because everything I'm doing comes from these chords. All right, so the chords are A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished, and A again. These are the triads for the key of A. So as long as I play these triads, I'm always within the key. Then of course you can make 7th chords of these triads, and that's what I do in the chorus. But the verse is basically in A, and it's a very simple chord progression. We don't have to get into it, but this is basically the chords. But the important thing is that it starts in A, all right? So A is my root, I'm in A major. And for the chorus, I stay within the key, so I'm only using these chords, but I'm going to the 4th degree, and I'm doing kind of like a Lydian progression. If you don't know what that is, it doesn't matter. I'm still within A major. And I'm playing the 7th version of these chords, which is a D major 7th, C sharp minor 7, B minor 7th, and F sharp minor. Again, I'm still within the key. All right, so if I were to do this through the whole song, that's no issue at all. But for the solo, I wanted to modulate up a whole step. That means that everything I did in A will repeat, but one whole step higher. So one whole step above A is B, and that will give me a whole new set of chords The chords of B major, they are B major, C sharp minor, D sharp minor, E major, F sharp major, G sharp minor, and A sharp diminished. A lot of sharps, but really it's the same thing as before, just one whole step higher. All right, so basically if I want to repeat the first section one step higher, I have to take the same chords as before, just up one whole step. So the only issue here is how do I get to this new key, right? There are many ways to do it, but I want something quick because I'm still playing my chorus and then jump into the solo. I don't want to have to prepare it for too long because I don't want to spoil my chorus. And so this is where the secondary dominants come to the rescue. If you follow my channel, you might know about my live masterclasses that I do every Saturday. It's a live stream and we get into some music theory or composition or guitar technique stuff, and I teach it for a little while and then I open it up for questions. And a few weeks ago we had one on secondary dominants, and I have a link up here for you. But the idea here is that, just a quick version of it, you can use a dominant chord that's a seventh chord. That's a major chord with a minor seventh. Sounds like this. Right? You can use a secondary dominant chord before any chord of a key. And that means, for example, if you're in C and your second chord is D minor, before that D minor, you can play an A seventh. Because the A, D, E, F, G, A, is the fifth chord of the D. And this has a lot of benefits. One of them is that it can make your progression sound a lot more interesting and add a lot more movement to them. And the other big issue that it solves, at least to a degree, is modulation. So sometimes it is used to go from one key to another. And that's exactly what I'm doing here, and I'm going to show it to you right now. So my chorus progression that comes right before the modulation is D major seventh, C sharp minor seventh, B minor seventh, and F sharp minor. Now this progression doesn't really go anywhere in the sense that it's not pushing towards anything else. So I can repeat it a few times, right? But it's not helping me to get to B, okay? But the great thing about it is that I notice that this F minor, F sharp minor, if it were an F sharp major with a seventh, so a dominant F sharp chord, it would push towards B. Now you can hear it. Right? You're hearing this. And so I can use that to go to B, because that's exactly where I want to go. I want to go from my first section in A to the middle section one whole step higher, and that's B. So that's exactly what I'm doing for the song. I'm doing it 4 times. So the first 3 is with the F sharp minor, because I'm staying within that progression. But then I want to escape that progression to go up to B. And now I can start my solo in B with the verse progression that before was in A. Right, so now I'm in B and I'm doing my whole thing in B now. So I'm playing my verse in B. I'm going to my chorus, which now instead of D starts in E. And I'm doing this same thing, just 2 steps higher. But now, after this solo, I want to go back to A. And now here's the issue. If I do the same trick as I did before, all I do is go from G sharp to C sharp. And it just keeps bringing me up 2 steps. I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to keep going up whole step by whole step. I want to revert down to A. And again, I don't want to prepare the modulation. I don't want to make it long, because I want to be able to hold on to the chord progression for as long as possible. And so what I'm doing is this. I'm playing E, D sharp minor, C sharp minor, G sharp minor, the first 3 times, but the fourth time, E major, D sharp minor, C sharp minor, E major, which is my E7th, E dominant. Why? Because E dominant pulls me right back to A. You see that it really pushes towards it. Now, this E here is part of the key of B, okay? So I'm not really looking for anything too hard or too, you know, obvious to the ear, because as you notice, my progression for the chorus starts with an E major. It's just a little bit different. This is an A major 7th, which is part of the key, and this is basically an A 7th that is not part of the key, but it's still the same family. It's a major chord, so your ear doesn't really pick up too much on it. And then I work my way down. So in both instances, I'm using the 5th chord of the note that I want to be the root of the progression. One final thing is that usually it is taught that you have to use the dominant version of the 5th, which means a major chord with a minor 7th, but you can certainly use just the major triad, which is what I'm doing here. I'm getting rid of the 7th, I'm not using it because it doesn't really fit the sound of the song, and I just use the triad, the major triad of the 5th chord to push me into the new key that I'm interested in, all right? So if this is too easy for you, then please forgive me. I'll be back with more advanced things. If it's a bit too hard for you, then watch maybe the video a couple of times. Make sure to check out the live masterclass on secondary dominants. And there's also another masterclass on 7th chords in general, so it might get you started with exploring 7th chords. I hope you found this useful. Please, if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, like, comment, hit the bell, just to make sure you know when I'm going live for the Saturday masterclasses or when a new video is posted. And welcome to the channel if you're new, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye-bye.